Hello, you two, and welcome to our active read lesson. As usual, you're going to need pen, paper, and those listening ears. Just to remind you of our Vipers, which are our question types to practice our comprehension skills before we start. They are V for vocabulary, I for inference, P for prediction, E for explanation, R for retrieval, and S for sequence and summary. We're going to start with our read words today. Remember, we need to read read words by sight, and they help build up our fluency and speed when we're reading. And this means that you're more likely to understand what you've read because you're doing less sounding out. Are we ready? We're going to do my turn, your turn again. I'll point to me, and then I'll point to you. My turn. Mind. Both. Beautiful. Move. Path. Shore. Sugar. You've. She'd. Won't. Well done. I'm going to share my screen again with you. And this week's activity for your read words is to play noughts and crosses. If you continue watching, you will see that there's a video of me playing it by myself, but it is better if you try and play it with someone. I hope you enjoy the game.
Noughts and crosses with read words. So as you can see, I've written some read words in each section of my noughts and crosses grid, and now I'm going to play noughts and crosses. You might want to do it with a grown-up or a sibling, but you need to make sure you say the word correctly before you're allowed to put your nought or cross in. I'm going to start with shore, so I can cross that one out. And then someone else will have a go, and it's their turn to pick one. Last. My turn. Or I'm going to go here. Class. Then it's the next person's turn. What? Will. Won't. So even though they've sounded it out, are they allowed that as a read word? No, we need to be able to read read words without sounding them out. So unfortunately, the noughts don't get that one. My turn. You've. And that means crosses wins.
We're going to start our reading lessons now. This week, the book has been split into 3 different parts. So you can either do it all in one go or split it over 3 days. Lesson 1 is all about retrieving an answer from a text. And here is the front cover of our book. We're going to be reading Old Bear by Jane Hissey. For this activity, you're going to need some paper, and I want you to answer these questions. They're inference and prediction questions. What do we definitely know about the story just by looking at the front cover? What might we know about the story? And what would we like to find out about the story? And maybe you could write a question of something you would like to find out. And here's the blurb. Old Bear by Jane Hissey. It's time to bring Old Bear back to the playroom. Old Bear has been up in the attic for a very long time, but he hasn't been forgotten. Bramwell Brown leads the toys on a rescue mission to bring their friend Old Bear safely back home. Which toy could Old Bear be? Maybe you could have a look at the pictures and try and guess. Find one adverb that describes they'll get Old Bear home. How they'll get Old Bear home, sorry. And 3, a prediction. Will the rescue mission go to plan? What do you think will happen? And you can answer this with, I predict that, I think this because. It wasn't anybody's birthday, but Bramwell Brown had a feeling that today was going to be a special day. He was sitting thoughtfully on the windowsill with his friends Duck, Rabbit, and Little Bear when he suddenly remembered that someone wasn't there who should be. What makes Bramwell Brown think that it's going to be a special day? What does the adverb thoughtfully mean? Why do you think the author uses it? Who is Bramwell Brown sitting with? And here is a picture of all the characters, or not all of them, some of the characters in the book. So we have Little Bear over here, and we've got Duck. This is Bramwell Brown, and this is Rabbit. What colour is Duck's collar? A very long time ago, he had seen his good friend Old Bear being packed away in a box. Then he was taken up a ladder, through a trapdoor and into the attic. The children were being too rough with him, and he needed somewhere safe to go for a while. Here's Old Bear and Bramwell Brown's seeing that he's going up into the attic. Why did Old Bear have to go into the attic? Can you tell someone or write down a time when you had to be careful with your toys and why? Has he forgotten, do you think? Bramwell asked his friends. I think he might have been, said Rabbit. Well, said Little Bear, isn't it time he came back down with us? The children are older now, and would look after him properly. Let's go and get him. What a marvellous idea, said Bramwell. But how can we rescue him? It's a long way up into the attic, and we haven't got a ladder. We could build a tower of bricks, suggested Little Bear. Rabbit collected all the bricks, and the others set about building a tower. It grew very tall, and Little Bear was just putting the last brick on the tower when the tower began to wobble. Look out! He cried, as the whole thing came tumbling down. Crash! Never mind, said Bramwell Brown, helping Little Bear to his feet. We'll just have to think of something else. Why does Little Bear think it's safe for Old Bear to come down from the attic? Was it a good idea to build a tower of bricks? Why? How else could they get up into the attic? And here's a picture of them building their tower of bricks. Can you explain why the tower was unsafe? You can pause here before the next lesson and continue tomorrow, or you can carry on today. Lesson 2. I can make a sensible prediction based on what I have read. So if you had a break from yesterday, I'd like you to refresh your mind and answer these questions. What is the title of the text? Who is the author? Name the main character. Also, this part of the story starts with a picture, so you need to get your thinking caps on. What is happening here? Is it a good idea? Why or why not? Let's try making ourselves into a tower, said Duck. Good idea, said Bramwell. Little Bear climbed on top of Rabbit's head, and Rabbit hopped onto Duck's beak. They stretched up as far as they could, but then Duck opened his beak to say something. Rabbit wobbled, and they all collapsed on top of Bramwell. Sorry, said Duck. Perhaps that wasn't a very good idea. Not your best, replied Bramwell, from somewhere underneath the heap. What does the word collapsed mean? Where is Bramwell after they collapse? What are the toys going to do now? I know, said Rabbit. Let's try bouncing on the bed. Trust you to think of that, said Bramwell. You never can resist a bit of bouncing, especially when it's not allowed. Rabbit climbed onto the bed and began to bounce up and down, up and down, up and down. Why does Bramwell say, trust you to think of that, to Rabbit. Why do you think up and down is repeated? Why do you think the text gets bigger each time you read it? And before I turn to the next page, you can pause here because I want you to think about what might happen next and make a prediction. Here they are. The others joined in. They bounced higher and higher, but they still couldn't reach the trapdoor to the ceiling. Are their ideas working? Why aren't they working? What might they try next? Duck began to cry. Oh dear, he sobbed. What are we going to do now? We'll never be able to rescue Old Bear, and he'll be stuck up there getting lonelier and lonelier forever and ever. We mustn't give up, said Bramwell firmly. Come on, Little Bear, you're good at ideas. But Little Bear had already noticed the plant in the corner of the room. What is Little Bear's idea? Write a prediction and draw a picture about what might happen next. So now you have time to pause to draw your prediction and write a sentence about it before we carry on to the next part of the story. And lesson 3, I can summarise events in a text. So if you paused, I'd like you to revisit your prediction from yesterday. What was it? Try and remember what you said, and we're going to find out what happens next. Was your prediction correct? Did you think Little Bear would climb the tree? Or the plant, I should say, sorry? Or did you think it might have been one of the other characters? I've got it, he cried. I could climb up this plant, swing from the leaves, kick the trapdoor open and jump in. In case it wobbled, Bramwell Brown, Duck and Rabbit steadied the pot. Little Bear bravely climbed up the plant until he reached the very top leaf. He took hold of it and started to swing to and fro, but he swung so hard that the leaf broke. Snap! He came crashing down. Luckily, Bramwell Brown was right underneath to catch him in his paws. That was a rotten idea, said Little Bear. What was I thinking, said Duck. Was that is a pity. I can't fly very well, as I could have been quite a help. Aha, said Bramwell. That, my dear Duck, has given me a very good idea. I really think this one might work. When did Little Bear start to swing to and fro? Why does Little Bear say that was a rotten idea? What could Duck's idea involve? Was your prediction correct? They found a wooden aeroplane. In the corner of the playroom was a little wooden plane with a propeller that went round and round, and you'll see that I've put a photograph of the propeller on a real plane. We could use this plane to get to the trapdoor, said Bramwell. Rather dangerous, I know, but quite honestly, I can't bear to think of Old Bear up there alone for a minute longer. I'll be the pilot, said Rabbit, hopping up and down, making plane noises. And I'll stand on the back and push the trapdoor open with my paintbrush, said Little Bear. But how will you get down? Asked Duck. I've already thought of that, said Bramwell. They can use these handkerchiefs as parachutes and we'll catch them in a blanket. So there is what a parachute might look like if someone was to jump out of a plane. And your retrieval question, who is going to be the pilot? Bramwell gave Little Bear 2 big handkerchiefs and a torch so that he could go into the attic. Then he began to wind up the propeller of the plane. Rabbit and Little Bear climbed aboard and Bramwell began to count. Join in if you like. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! They were off. The plane whizzed around the carpet and flew up into the air. Why did Little Bear need a torch in the attic? Describe Rabbit and Little Bear's feelings as the plane flew up into the air. And here's a picture of them flying up, Bramwell waving them goodbye. So I've got some questions about this picture for you. Why is Little Bear holding a paintbrush? What word would you use to describe the duvet on the bed? And now, can you make another prediction? What might happen next? Using our sentence starter, I predict that, I think this because. And here is your final activity for today. I'd like you to summarise the story. So you've got 2 minutes to summarise what has happened so far in the story of Old Bear. And I have linked some pictures onto our remote learning to help you. We'll be reading the rest of Old Bear next week. Enjoy, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.